Hey, Internet.
Welcome to the Intoxicated Podcast, a weekly comedy talk show that dives into the personal lives of comedians, experts, and creators. I'm your host, Sarah McClellan, a very amateur stand-up comedian and self-proclaimed sad girl. Every week, I dive into who people really are, the good, the bad, and everything in between. It's the comedy podcast with a lot of heart. Feel hard and talk hard. This is
The Intoxicated Podcast.
We are back on the Intoxicated Podcast, and here we are. We are in a heat wave or a heat warning. Heat wave, heat warning. It's just very hot. It's very hot in Halifax. I'm here with producer Sarah. Hello, producer Sarah.
Everybody.
I don't know why I'm acting like I don't even know, like a sports
producer
talk show.
Sarah.
Yeah.
Hey, host Sarah.
I think I'm like overcompensating because the heat is just zapping my energy. So I'm like trying to sound more energetic than I am.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Oh my God. Thank you so much.
When we listen to this, we're going to be like, wow, we had so much energy.
I don't sound exhausted at all for no reason. Yeah, it's really fucking hot in Halifax. It is. Like, we are going on like, this is like the third or fourth day of just like crazy humidity and heat.
Yeah. 40 degrees with the humidity. I think it hit 43 today.
It is brutal.
It's lovely.
Do you like it?
No.
Okay.
I'd like it if I was like on a beach.
Yeah.
Or like
near
in
a
water.
body of water.
Yeah, but I don't like it when I'm stuck in my apartment per se.
No, it's the worst.
But we're lucky that we have an AC unit and I have a fan that gives off cool air instead of just like passing around warm air. So.
Yeah, that is key. I do not have an AC, and I truly feel like I'm just constantly melting. But I do think that it's like that weird time in summer where I think a lot of Haligonians are just like, we just got to get through this week and we will be fine.
Yeah.
Eventually, it will stop eventually, but it's just like that really, really hot time of year.
August is such a weird month because like it's nice for weather, but it's also like really intense for weather.
It is.
We have that, like, we always have those couple days that are just like, am I gonna make it through the summer?
Am I gonna die?
Is everything gonna be okay?
We just had a full moon and we went full moon.
Full witch.
Full witchiness. I don't know what got into me, but I think I took it as a sign when I got my period on the full moon. I was like, oh, this is a sign. I'm starting my cycle. Because your day one of your cycle is your period, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm literally starting a cycle.
You're starting a cycle
on
a
full
cycle.
moon.
That is definitely a sign of something.
Right? So Sarah and I said, you had a show.
Yeah, I had a show.
You had a good show at Sunday.
I had a really good show. It's in the Sunday City.
Sunday Sillies.
It is.
Every Sunday in the basement of the shoe.
8
Check
p.m.
it out. Little comedy plug. I love how like every week we'll kind of plug a different mic. But yeah, Sunday nights. And I was like, Sarah, do you want to go for a moonwalk? And I showed up with some jars.
I didn't expect you to show up with the jars, and you're holding a jar. You're like, let's do this. And I was like, oh my God. I'm living my best life right now. This is amazing.
We went down to the water. We have like a little park by our place. And we put out some moon water that I, of course, put crystals on top of to charge up because you can't go without crystals. You gotta bring crystals. We had candles. We then had another jar that we wrote down intentions on. And we also had that moment by the water that we just like were silent for like 5 minutes. Remember that?
We were thinking about the things that we were releasing, and then we lit it on fire in the jar.
Yeah. And then we got really nervous because it was way more smoke than we expected.
And then we had to put the moon water into the jar. To make sure it didn't like explode or anything, you know?
Listen, fire safety, you guys. It's very, very important.
We're very witchy, but also very safe. So
we take it very seriously. But it was a magical night. It was actually, and I want to talk about this weekend because it ties in nicely to today's episode, actually. Because we did a lot of fun things this weekend. We went kayaking.
Kayaking was so fun.
We did kayaking on Long Lake.
Yes.
So much fun. We were like a little scared at first, but then
it turned out to be this wonderful thing.
Turned out to be wonderful.
So relaxing. And the weather was awesome too. And it wasn't like super, super hot where we felt like we were burning in the water. And it was like there was a nice wind and
it was perfect.
We didn't drown.
I went to a wedding afterwards. I also went to the beach the day before. Like I just had a very good, fun weekend, and then like capping it off with like that full moon night was really fun.
The perfect end to that weekend.
And I really do think, and listen guys, okay, I think you should always take this stuff with a grain of salt, but I do feel different since that night. I do too. You do. Okay, sweet.
Yeah, I felt like super emotional the next day, and I just feel like I feel more empowered in a way.
Yeah, empowered. I feel just like calmer.
Yeah.
About things. And I think it like really, it really put us in a good. Now, granted, we did put our intentions in a jar, and we wanted to find a place around our apartment to put the intentions in a jar so that the moon could charge the intentions. And I don't know why we decided, let's put it by the trash can.
Because that's where the moon was beaming in the most.
It was shining right down by the trash can. We didn't want to just put it in the grass because we thought that would like stick out like a sore thumb. So we put it by the trash. And then the next day I slept in. And around 11 a.m. I went out to try to find said jar. And it was gone.
That's probably not a good sign. Or
probably
maybe it is
not a great sign.
Maybe it is a good sign. Maybe that was
because we're feeling
universe.
good. So maybe it didn't do anything. But someone clearly took the jar
what
of
if they
intentions and threw it out.
But what if they like took the jar and like opened it up and like looked at the intentions? They're like, what the fuck is this?
Maybe they put more good energy into them.
And they're like, in the trash you go.
Or it is now in the dump being crushed by a machine.
That's okay. It happens.
Either way.
I now realized you could have put that jar anywhere because the moon is in the sky and like...
We could have put it anywhere, but we needed to put it where we had full moon beam action.
True. That's true.
So our intentions were good.
Yes, but also crushed.
Oh my gosh. So fucking funny. Well, okay. So we have a great episode coming up for you guys. I want to plug a few things off the top. We do need to get your voicemails, your questions. We can't plug this enough because we really want these intros to be like, we want to answer your questions. So you can send those in to us by email at intoxicatedpodcast@gmail.com, or you can leave us a voicemail. You can have your voice on the podcast. Bring us a voicemail.
Haven't you always wanted to be on a podcast?
No, you can be.
Now's your chance.
Yeah, now's your 5 minutes of maybe not 5 minutes. Keep them brief.
Keep them. Your 2 minutes of fame is coming right
2
up.
2 minutes of fame, exactly. I mean, ideally 30 seconds, but who's counting?
Okay,
who's counting? Who's counting?
Too.
Yeah, you can leave us a voicemail. There's a link in the description of this podcast as well as the Instagram bio to leave a voicemail. So this can be life advice questions, dilemmas. I love a good dilemma. What do I do in this situation? Type of question. Even like crazy stories that you think we'd appreciate.
Anything you want to tell us, just tell us. We will listen and we'll feature you on the podcast.
And that's kind of the plan. So please do that. The other thing is that I am still looking for songs from local bands and musicians. So if you are one of those and if you have a song that you want featured in the show, email intoxicatedpodcast@gmail.com with the MP3 file. Give me the information as well. So like song title, artist title, link to Spotify, all of that. We will make sure that we link to that. And also give you a shout out on social media. So we are always looking for music. And yeah, so those two things. And like the other quick thing that we're just going to plug is that we have a string of ladies' nights coming up in Halifax.
Ladies' night.
And the feeling's right. Is that the right song?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, sweet.
I hope so.
I don't even know. But when you're hearing this, there will be a women's show at Gus's Pub on Saturday. And that's at 8 p.m. It is $10 to get in. And then on Tuesday night, both Sarah and I, both Sarahs,
co-producer and host Sarah are on the show.
Co-producer and host Sarah are both on the show at Oasis on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. And that is pay what you can. So just bring a donation, show up.
Or just show up.
The ladies' nights at Oasis are always so much fun.
They're the best time.
They're truly the best time. So please come to one of those shows or come to both.
Come to both.
Both.
What are you going to do?
Be a keener.
Yeah, come see some funny women.
We have an amazing episode this week. I am so excited to release this one because it is what I would call a groundbreaking episode in terms of it went above and beyond what I ever thought it could have been. Our guest this week is an amazing lady. She has worked in comedy. She is a sometimes comedian, but overall amazing person. Her name is Deborah. She is our guest this week. And Lauren is the host and producer of My Dad Stole My Limelight podcast. And that's a podcast all about coming out stories. And usually her guests, like, they talk about their coming out, but they also have someone on that they came out to.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And like, or like if they think someone kind of stole their moment, that person will come on with them. So it is a great podcast and you can check that out wherever you find podcasts. And please do, because it is incredibly well done and she's done an amazing job with it. I kind of helped her in the initial stages of that podcast, and then I kind of saw it all unfold and happen, which is very rare. I was just telling Sarah before this, a lot of people come to me with podcast stuff, and I like to say that like 1 in 10 actually do it. And Lauren is one of those people.
That's so amazing.
She did it. So you got to check out that podcast. And Lauren and I really dove into demisexuality and self-love. Those were the two main topics of this episode. And I mean, it got to a point where it just felt like it was a therapy session between her and I.
Yeah, I love that so much.
Right?
You need that.
You need
a solid therapy session.
And then people listening might need it. So it's just like all around awesome. And it was just a great conversation. Amazing conversation. Lauren and I actually met over a dead friend. It's kind of, we go into the origin story a bit on the show, so you'll find out kind of how we know each other, but we've never actually met in person. Which is crazy. We've just been kind of online friends, like who've been bonding online. This episode is epic. We dive into demisexuality and also a lot of self-love stuff too. So it is deep and amazing.
You don't want to miss
epic,
this.
And I can't wait for you to hear it. Do make sure that you subscribe to Intoxicated on whatever podcast app you use. Check out the YouTube channel too.
Check out our YouTube channel.
Check it out.
YouTube.com/intoxicated.
Bam!
Ring that bell. Ding, ding, ding.
Ring the bell for notifications.
Yeah, subscribe. I know YouTube lingo.
Buzzwords. Smash that like button. But seriously though, yeah, check them out on YouTube, but please also subscribe on the audio feeds, because like that's where like our numbers kind of live. And also, if you really love the show, send a review my way, because you know this is the 3rd episode of the relaunch, and it would be nice to like get a little bump. Get a little bump in the visibility.
It's crazy to think that this is the 3rd episode already.
It is flying by.
I feel like we just did the relaunch.
Right? I feel like it just happened. Well, we're in the weekly grind now, so it's just gonna be plunging forward from here on out.
Every Friday.
New episode. New episodes. Please also follow Intoxicated on social media, Facebook and Instagram, and we would greatly appreciate that. I think that's it, you guys. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into this amazing episode. I really hope that you guys enjoy this week's episode with the amazing, the beautiful, the crazy intelligent Deborah.
In bed with a demisexual. Spoiler alert, nothing's gonna happen.
In bed with a demisexual ends up being a therapy session.
In bed with a demisexual, get out.
Get out till you tell me your life story.
Oh my God.
That's so funny. Well, okay, are we good to just get into it, Lauren?
Yes, sorry. Yes, I could talk to you all night, but we should get to the part where we're recording the talking.
I know, right? Well, I actually love starting podcasts like just kind of already in a conversation because like I want people to like just like be brought right into it, essentially. All right, everybody. So I am like wildly excited. This has been a long time coming. This is like the podcast that had many roadblocks, but here we are. I am so honored to be here with an amazing person. She is a smoking hot Australian living in Canada. She has an extensive background in comedy production and production of all kinds. She is the host and the producer of My Dad Stole My Limelight podcast and a sometimes comedian, which is what I want to be too. Please welcome to the podcast, Lauren Deborah.
Oh my gosh, hi. That was best intro. Thank you. We are the same person, so...
It's insane. When you said sometimes comedian, I've actually heard myself recently going, I want to be a sometimes comedian because I feel like it can so easily engulf your life, and sometimes would be the right amount.
Because I haven't been on stage in a really long time, but I don't want to say I'm not doing it anymore. Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
Also, when you work in comedy, I don't know if you had, and we'll get in, I'd love to just get into how you got into all of this stuff, because it's very similar to me in that, like, we both were probably immersed in comedy before we ever did it. Yeah. And like, that's a big thing because you can kind of start thinking like a comic, and you kind of are sort of in a way a comic before you actually even do it. Because you're like in with the crowd and you know the lingo and you know all the ins and outs and stuff like that. So
yeah, kind of the exact opposite of the people who are like, I'd like to try comedy one day and go to an open mic and eat shit. We do it but we eat shit for a completely different reason. It's because we have our expectations up so high. Not because we think we're going to be great. It's because we think the opposite and then we just eat shit. Is that just me? Or?
No, that's the realest thing I ever heard. that couldn't be more real. That is like 100% true. So Lauren, like, this is really, I'm honored to have you here today, just because, I mean, obviously I've wanted to have you on for so long, but like, we have an interesting friendship origin story.
We do.
So we kind of met because of a dead friend. Like,
yeah. He gave us many gifts, and his parting gift was each other, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
I thank him every day.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that says it right there. So like, do you want to give people like the rundown of like how this all came together? And going back to your beginnings with Yucks and all of this?
Oh, wow. My origin story, my villain origin story. So like my work background leading up to then us meeting. Okay.
Yeah. How did you get into this comedy scene? How did you? It's a crazy place to get into.
Yeah, by complete accident. So from Australia, I lived in hotels. I definitely didn't live in hotels. I worked in hotels and was like in management in hotels for years, like restaurant and then like front desk and those kinds of things, and moved to Canada on a working holiday visa, moved to Halifax, Nova Scotia, and just planned to kind of like work in a cafe for a year or so and have like a working holiday. And then my work ethic kicked in real quick. And people could see like, okay, she's working in a cafe at the Westin in Nova Scotia, the Westin Hotel. And she's like creating new menu items. And she's like, my work ethic definitely kicked in. I was like, I'm bored. I can't do nothing. And so I guess they kind of thought maybe she could be doing something else. And then the manager at the time, which, quick side note, her name is also Sarah McClellan.
What? Yes.
When I've talked about you, people think I'm talking about her.
I know exactly the girl because I worked at the Westin at one point, and so we might have we didn't quite cross paths, but like she was still there when I was there, and we added each other on Facebook. I've accidentally tagged her in pictures and stuff. Like it's so funny.
It's so funny. Yeah, but she was moving on to a different role, so her position became available. They asked if I'd like to manage the Yucks, and I love telling this part of the story. Is my boss called me and said, la la la, we want to offer you this position. And my response was, what is a yuck yucks? Because I had come from Australia and I had been working in a cafe directly across from the Yuck Yucks the whole time. But if you're familiar with where that club used to be in Halifax, it wasn't obvious unless it was open. Like you didn't know it was a comedy club because they used it for other things during the day. So anyway, fast forward, I managed that club for just shy of a year. And then, I guess the rest is history. Relocated to Vancouver and managed the club there for about 3 and a bit years. And I've just kind of worked in comedy ever since. I worked for Comedy Here Often, which is a really cool record label based out of Vancouver, part of 604 Records, and now work in Montreal producing live events. Just kidding. I work from my apartment.
Things have changed a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a great time to be in like event planning and production and
Absolutely.
events.
I am thriving. I'm actually going into the office for the first time on Tuesday, and I am low-key terrified. I don't know if I want to do it.
It's such a it's just so strange how we were so like when this thing happened, we were all like pushed into this really weird space, and now we're like, but we don't want to go back now. It's actually we got too used to this.
I know. I messaged my coworker and I was like, so I have to put on a bra and shoes. That's not how I'm used to working.
That's the worst.
Thank you. And pants? Sorry? Question mark?
Oh.
So that and I guess then to kind of loop back around the time I relocated to Montreal, earlier in 2020 was around the time you and I got some really shitty news that we lost our dear friend Andrew. And as part of that, you did a beautiful tribute episode of this podcast to him, which included some stories from his friends. And another coworker from the West End messaged me on Instagram saying, you should reach out to Sarah. She's collecting these stories. And I know, I think I had posted something on my Instagram story after he passed away, and she thought it might be a nice one to share. So I shared that with you, and then we realized we're the exact same person and we're going to be inseparable for the rest of our lives.
That's essentially it. I mean, not everyone sent me videos. It was a really strange time because, everyone deals with these types of things differently. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people wanted to silently process it and not really talk openly. And I just went into, like, I always say, like, podcasting is like my favorite trauma response because it keeps me busy, and the more busy I am, the less I can focus on being sad. So like when he died, I was like, you want to know what? I'm just gonna make I want to do this for for the people in his life that might want to hear it. Other people need to hear these stories. Like I kind of went into like this mode of like, I'm gonna do this for other people, even though like I had not really processed my grief yet. And arguably the first lockdown was like, I feel like it was such a distraction from what the COVID stuff. Like that was my pandemic. Like my friend dying was my pandemic because it happened as soon as lockdown happened. So it was a strange thing. So you were one of the, few people who actually sent me something, and it was amazing. And then we added each other on social media, and I became obsessed with you. And
likewise,
here we are.
Yeah. And well, I think I'll add that like the video I ended up sending you, I think it was just my Instagram story that I posted a couple of days before. So I think,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't know whether I would have, I understand that. Like, I don't know if someone had just said, can you make a video? Would have been like, nah, I can't.
Right. You did it on your own. Yeah.
It was me crying, but it was a fucking hilarious story. It was very Andrew. You can go back and listen to the episode, but the short version is that he made fun of a poster I made for Yuck Yucks. Rightfully so. I thought about that poster like once a week for the rest of my life after that moment. And as I grew as a human being, I was like, yeah, that poster fucking sucked.
But Lauren, that's you gotta come from nothing and grow to the top. You've improved since then, and I'm sure he'd love your posters now.
Yeah, exactly. I think he'd be proud of my posters now. He'd be like, thank God. Yeah, but I do want to shout out you, because in the time that we've kind of connected and become pals, I started a podcast project, and you took time out of your busy life and sat down with me we had one long Zoom call, but you answered so many of my questions in messages and stuff. Like my podcast wouldn't exist without your help. So you're amazing and I appreciate you so much. But yeah, I think we have a really cool friendship and we've never met in person.
Never met in person yet.
We will.
Yet, bitches. And I gotta say, Lauren, I run into so many people who pitch podcast ideas to me. Nothing ever. Listen, I love podcasting and I'll always hear someone out. But if I had $1 for any time someone said, oh, I have an idea for a podcast, I would be very rich because most times it's just an idea. It's a cool idea someone has and they don't do anything with it. You literally followed through on everything you said in that first Zoom call. You said, this is the plan. I'm going to launch at this time. And I literally sat back and like watched it happen and watched you consistently put out content, stick to a release schedule. Like these types of things are things that are so easy to like fall behind on with podcasts. And that's why a lot of podcasts don't go anywhere, you know, because you lose that routine and you're amazing at it. Like, are you having the best time?
Oh gosh, I do have the best time. Like the guests I get to chat to are incredible. I will say like the organizational thing is just me in general. Like before we started recording, I was fixing these pillows so that they looked more even behind my shoulders. Like that's just me. So like I'm the type of person that everything is in like the diary on my phone. Diary? That's what it's called, right? Calendar. Who am I? A 12-year-old girl? The calendar on my phone. Like everything, like planned to a T, like remind yourself to do this and this. So yeah, I'm never gonna skip anything that's on the schedule.
Are you a Virgo?
No, I'm an Aquarius.
Oh, I love Aquariuses.
Big Aquarius energy.
Well, I was gonna say because Virgos are very organized, so it'd be interesting. Do you actually know like your birth chart? Like, have you ever looked into that?
I feel like someone told me some of it once before, and then I forgot it. I need to do that again.
Yeah, because I would reckon that you have some Virgo in you. If you're like highly organized and like really clean and like, are you a neat freak me. Too? Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it so
dangerously
much.
So. It's interfered with my life on multiple occasions.
Oh my God. And before we get into like who you are and your psyche and all the amazing things about you, can you tell the listeners what your podcast is? Like, what's it about?
I would love to. It's called My Dad Stole My Limelight. It's a podcast about coming out. So when I was like in my early 20s and kind of first discovering my bisexuality and kind of accepting that, I was thinking about these things and having some feelings and thinking maybe I might have some conversations with people. And then my dad came out as bisexual. So I just took a back seat for a really long time. And the running joke was that he stole my limelight. I'm obviously a lot more mature now, emotionally, and realized that that is in fact not the case, that like timing is everything for each individual, but it makes for a very fun podcast title and premise. So I interview someone who has come out and someone they've come out to. So we've had like childhood best friends, ex-partners, current partners, siblings. Yeah, it's really cool. I love it. It's funny when I didn't expect it to be funny, but it's also like just really important conversations and to like see happy queer adults. And I think I felt myself be way more comfortable in my queerness since starting the podcast. So
oh my gosh, it's so healing, right? Like when you talk to other people and bond with other people over things, it can be healing for you, you know? Like
100%. Yeah.
So that is like, you should be so proud. And you're already into season 2.
Season 2, yeah. At the time of recording, season 2 is a few weeks out of release, and there'll be like 10 episodes in total. So that'll go through to September 2021. So depending on when you're listening to this, you might just have a lot to binge.
Yes, you'll have to listen to all of it. And you should listen to all of it because it's so good.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Subscribe.
Couldn't have done it without you.
Oh my gosh, I just love it. I love that I have a success story like to share.
Well,
Like,
this is one of your many success stories. I hope I do you proud.
I'm gonna try my best to do that. But we're gonna get into the first segment of the show. Dun 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 dun. I don't know if I'm gonna have music transitioning and everything or not. We'll see. We'll see what happens in post. But we're gonna open up the show with a little icebreaker. So I'm always very fascinated with perception and, you know, the way people see us versus how we see ourselves. And a lot of this comes down to social media and stuff. It's how a lot of people see other people. So I'm going to tell you some assumptions I have about you. Don't punch me in the face. Ow.
I am equally terrified and excited by this.
And you can tell me if they're true or not. You know, am I way off? First one's pretty easy. We talked about it just before we hit record, but you're a workaholic.
Yes.
Are ya? Is it true?
Oh, big time. I am very much over the pandemic have my priorities and focus, I guess, has shifted a lot, that I am trying to create more balance in my life, but it is a tough job to do when you've kind of made this monster.
Yeah. I thought of something today, which is even fun work is work. Which is something people tend to forget, because like when they see people doing really fun, cool stuff, they're like, oh, it must be so fun. And like, yes, it is, but it's still work.
Well, yeah, like you and I, podcasts are so much work, like, and not just the recording and editing. It's like social media takes me several hours a week to create the things and schedule the things and plan the things.
Right.
That's like one example. Yeah. And like, obviously I love it and like interacting with people online and building the community, but it's like, yeah, that's work. If I don't do it, it doesn't happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. It's all these little time consuming things that people don't always think about that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? This is gonna, I'm interested about this. And this is mostly because you're fucking gorgeous. But also I just get the sense, are you well rested? Do you get sleep?
I think in comparison to a lot of people I am. Yeah. Because I'm pretty strict. My organizational skills creep into every aspect of my life, including my sleep pattern. So,
okay.
Can you see behind me my alarm clock up there?
See, I can
like
see
the old.
Yes, I can see it. Yeah.
Like an old school alarm clock, because as of like 9:30 at night, an alarm goes off on my phone and says, "Put your phone in another room," and then it's gone. And so I wake up to this old school alarm clock and then don't touch my phone again until like 9 a.m. the next day.
Oh, dang.
So that definitely helps me get good sleep and like wake up more alert. But like, these are things I had to buy that fucking alarm clock. I couldn't just be trusted not to look at my phone.
Wow. And you stick to that. You don't waver at all?
Sometimes on like a Sunday, I'll go and grab my phone and have a nice like coffee and scroll in bed. But even then I try really hard not to, because I have like a pretty consistent morning routine. So yeah, I sleep for like 6 or 7 hours, which I think is pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty, I'm like I don't know. For me, it's like 4 to 5, like maybe 5. Like 5 is like my top.
I couldn't do that. I don't know how you function.
I don't know either. I truly don't know. But like, you just seem like you're somebody. And also, like, are you pretty good with like social media and like staying off certain platforms, like not being on? Yeah.
Like there definitely are days where I cave, and again, to go back to like where work creeps in, it makes it hard, because like I want to promote my podcast the morning it comes out, but I also don't like going on social media until later in the day. So, you know, sometimes you do just have to not follow your own rules. But as a general rule, I try not to go on social media during the day while I'm working or creating, trying to be productive. And like a way I've developed like a technique to combat that, which I don't always stick to perfectly, but most days I do, is that, oh my gosh, I sound like such a fucking idiot. I make sure I read a chapter of my book before I allow myself to go on social media. I sound like I shouldn't have said idiot. I sound like a pretentious human being is what I sound
No, because I
gotta
think
make sure I read.
but I think other people could adapt that to them. Like what, listen to an audiobook, listen to a chapter of an audiobook before, like we all have our little things that we could do to kind of just like control ourselves and make it so that it's like a treat and not like just a reflex kind of thing.
That's a really good point, because do you know what, like the reason I chose reading as my thing is because reading was something I used to do a lot more of and didn't like the fact that I wasn't doing it anymore. So I think, yeah, you're totally right. Someone could take something that they're lacking in their life that they really want more of and be like, okay, then I don't get social media till I do this thing, and then until it becomes habit.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's sewing, maybe it's writing, maybe it's cooking, like it could be anything, running. Yeah.
I often pray that my phone will break. Like that's how
No, I don't want that.
That's how addicted I am though. It's hellish. It's truly hellish and I
They're
hate it.
designed that way. You can't blame yourself. That you have to take ridiculous measures like that fucking Amazon alarm clock.
Yeah.
And put your phone in a room at the opposite end of your apartment and put it on, like I have it on like the downtime, like nothing comes through after a certain time. If someone calls me, I think it's like more than 2 or 3 times consecutively within X amount of minutes, it'll let you know, because like it wants you to know about emergencies. But otherwise it's like, nope, sorry.
I mean, I love it. I love that.
I hope I can pass that on to someone who might want to try it out.
I think it's such a good idea. Like it's just it makes total sense. Like it's science, Like you shouldn't be staring at that screen before you go to sleep.
Yeah.
Truly.
I did see it in a tweet like years ago, is that someone tweeted like thinking about the person who didn't allow herself to look at social media until she'd read 30 pages of a book, and she read like, and it was a ridiculous amount of books in a year, and I was like, oh fuck. Okay, I read 1 book last year, so let's tailor that to what suits me, because I'm not reading 30 pages every day because I have a job. But yeah, what can work for me? Yeah, so I can't take credit for it. Thanks, Twitter.
Thank you.
Thanks. I was trying to get away from.
Thank you, Twitter. And on that kind of like similar subject, and I think that I assume this mostly because you have such a positive like you just seem to love yourself on social media, like, and that's a good thing because it's inspiring to someone like me who hates herself. Do you participate in self-care a lot? Like, Are you a big proponent of the self-care, taking that time for you and like really being present?
I definitely, and I think self-care looks obviously different to everyone. So I know sometimes people think of self-care and think, face masks, which absolutely self-care, but like face masks and bubble baths, which I love to do, but like that's not something I practice consistently. I guess my self-care is like trying to get a good night's sleep, trying to eliminate these things that don't make me feel great. I work out 6 mornings a week, but it's never with the intention of like having a hot bod. It's with the intent, like I pick my workouts just to move my body, just to feel nice, just to invigorate. Like that's my self-care, like eat as well as I can, those kinds of things.
Oh, that's so huge. And like what you said right there about like doing it like just to feel good is so important. Like, because we do tend to forget about that.
Oh,
like,
for sure. It's so hard to do. And like, I'm not perfect at it either. I make terrible comments about my body still, and then catch myself doing it and being like,
oh, frick. God damn it.
Don't do that. Like, I've seen this before again on the internet, that like when you catch yourself like saying something negative about your appearance or your body, like who is that for? Who's benefiting from that? So if you say like, I put on weight, diet culture benefits from that, and weight loss programs and fucking all that stupid shit, or like my skin or my wrinkles or my hair or whatever, like the beauty fucking toxic industry is benefiting from that.
If yeah, exactly. And I can't deny that, because I'm like, here I'm buying all the serums. I'm buying
same.
Instantly.
Absolutely.
Like no questions asked. I'm just like, give that to me. That's gonna make me look younger. Give it.
Yeah. I have like several steps to my AM and PM skincare routine, which would also be part of my self-care. But yeah, I'm trying not to be hard on myself as like,
I think that's it right there. We have to stop being hard on ourselves and like forgive ourselves a bit more. You know, like that's a huge thing.
Yeah,
But
easier said than done.
Easier said than done. I need to put notes like on my mirror sometimes to just be like,
Yeah.
I have a note on my mirror right now that just says stop comparing yourself to other
Yes.
people. Like
Yes.
because,
My morning affirmation has a line.
ooh,
Who
what
is this bitch? It has a line that says you are not in competition with anyone.
Yes. Another good one. And I mean, it's quoting the now pop queen, Olivia Rodrigo, but it's their win is not my loss.
Yes.
Their win
Yes.
is not my
Yes.
loss. And
There's room for
whew,
everyone.
there's room for everyone. And also, and I could go on a tangent about comedy because it's just psychologically a hard thing to do. I'm like a year in, and there's a lot of psychological things going on currently with me that I'm
Yeah.
like, I have to keep these things in check. But like a big thing with comedy is like, I just have to remind myself, focus on your shit, focus on your jokes, your voice, like stop thinking, stop overanalyzing. And it's why I don't go to a lot of shows to just watch anymore because I just can't.
Right. Yeah, of course. Which is what you did a lot before you got on stage, right?
Yeah. So it's a
Yeah.
really strange, it's almost like, I hate to get deep on this, but it's kind of like a grief thing of like,
Right.
because as soon as you start doing something that you could consider work, I'm an open mic comic, so I'm not getting paid, but like I do consider it work in a weird way, like working on jokes and like trying to get better. It's work, but like as soon as it becomes that, I can't sit back and enjoy because I'm going, oh, that's such a good joke. Why didn't I write that? Oh, I love how they are so comfortable on stage. Why aren't I like that? Like it's this really strange thing.
Yeah. Are you a journaler? Do you journal?
I don't, and I really wish I could. I'm really bad at it. I think it's an ADHD thing where I have certain routines that are like absolutely steady. And then other things I have a really hard time keeping routines with. Like it takes a lot for me to create a habit or a routine. So I've journaled. I've read 3 pages of every single self-help book. Only 3. I think probably I tried to do shadow work. And I think I did like maybe 5 days, even though it was like you should do this every day. I did 5 and then I just fell off. I just find it really hard. I find it hard to just get a habit.
Yeah, and like set aside the time too. I only asked because when I was starting the podcast, I had a friend to suggest to me that I create like check-ins for myself, like ask yourself why you're doing this and why it's important to you and phrase questions around that. And then every so often, whatever you decide that is for you, come back to that questions and make sure you're still on track and that you're still doing it for the reasons that make you happy. So I wonder if you could do that for comedy, but you wouldn't have to write it. Like if you're not into journaling, you could just like every 3 months, I'm going to look at these questions and then just honestly say them aloud to myself, like answer it in my own head. Like, am I still doing it? Am I still feeling this way? Am I still doing it for these reasons? Like, have I let the A, B, and C take over?
Yep. I mean, oh my God, I need to do that. You're
and I have lots of great things to say, but they all come from other great people. So it's like paying it forward.
That's something you're paying it for. And that's something. Okay. Another assumption. This is my last one. I wrote like 4. My last assumption I have about you is that you're the life of the party. You must be fun person to party with. And by party, I don't even necessarily mean like getting fucked up on, like I just mean like when I saw that you posted a story of like you at a club dancing, I was like, yes. I want to go out with Lauren. Like there's so many people I've gone out with where they don't dance, they're not excited, they don't have any energy, and like you just seem like you're a lot of fun to hang out with, like dancing.
Thank you. I guess in that regard, I definitely am the first, if not one of the first on the dance floor. And if there's a song I know the lyrics to, I'm singing along. Karaoke bars are one of the things I miss the most right now.
I know, so fun. Do you sing?
At karaoke? Yeah, not I don't sing, but I sing at karaoke.
You do the karaoke singing, but not.
Well, yeah. I know what songs I can do and not like completely destroy everyone. So I choose those.
Do you happen to know
karaoke?
Yes, occasionally I have. I actually think that since I've started doing stand-up, I could do it more confidently now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I have this kind of rule with karaoke where you don't necessarily have to be good. You just have to be loud.
Yeah, and you have to pick a song that everyone likes because they're ultimately just going to sing and dance along anyway.
That's just it. You need to pick a crowd pleaser. Crowd pleaser song.
What do you have a song? Like a go-to karaoke song?
I have a go-to karaoke song, but it's certainly not a crowd pleaser. It's Bon Jovi's Always.
Oh my gosh, that's a crowd pleaser. I can't wait to go to karaoke with you. I will be in the front with my lighter, like, yes.
I don't know what it is with that song, but like I can fucking sing it. It's my jam.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's great. Amazing.
Well, as soon as we can, we're going out together. It's gonna happen.
Yes.
It's gonna happen. And
COVID
or not, if it's here in my living room, we're gonna make it happen.
Yes, I can't wait.
Lauren, we're at the next segment, and I'm excited for this one because now you have the floor. Ranting. I need to rant. We're gonna do a rant. I told you to come with a rant. Do you have a rant for me?
I do. I want to say before I go on my rant that I don't know what I want to say before I go on my rant. Other than this is my personal opinion and I feel very passionate about it. And my rant is how I'm feeling in my heart and soul right now. And my rant is that if you're not getting vaccinated, and you have the opportunity to, I'm really fucking pissed. I'm really fucking pissed off at you. Mm-hmm. If you're able to, and it's not something that you've been told by your doctor that there might be a reason you can't, because I know people that's a fact, and you're not, I'm just really sad. I'm very sad that you're making that decision because it's a selfish decision that you're making for yourself and no one else. All it does is set us all back. We're seeing what's happening in LA right now where they were going mask free and now all these people. Anyway. Yeah. We're all next. It's going to happen everywhere next because the same thing's happening everywhere. And it's just really disappointing. Yeah. I know that the pandemic is affecting everyone in the whole fucking world, but this is my rant, so I'm going to tell you how it's affecting me.
Love it! Pop off.
Because I don't want to speak on behalf of other people, so I'll keep it about me. But like, my family's in Australia. I had a trip planned to see them in May of 2020, which obviously didn't happen. I have a brand new niece that was born in February that I'm yet to meet. My plan was to go there in May. I was meeting a new niece I'd never met. My auntie/godmother's, who I'm named after, who I'm very close with, her 60th birthday. My grandparents are having a wedding anniversary. My other niece was turning 18, which is a big milestone. My best friend had a birthday, and I missed that trip. Sure, lots of people have missed lots of things that might be more important, but now the longer people don't get vaccinated, the longer it is before I get to reschedule that trip. And my grandparents are getting older and they're not well. And my niece is getting older and I still haven't met her. And it's just like all of this fucked up things. And like, meanwhile, while I'll add to the rant, as fucking great as they are, there's some people like Zac Efron who can just fucking go to Australia and hang out there. And it's like, but I can't get in. Right. You know, like if you're rich enough, if you're Idris Elba, you can like hang out at a party in Sydney while I'm stuck in my apartment. No, thank you. Mm-hmm. That's my rant.
It's the rant battle cry. Couldn't agree. And you want to know what? Here's something to add on to that, because I've been seeing people on Instagram. I've muted a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Just because I'm just like I can't hear this anymore. To anybody who is like one of those anti-vaxxers that, and I still consider this anti-vax. Mm-hmm. If you're someone who's like, I'm going to get it eventually, but I'm going to wait and see what happens with side effects and shit. And you're still going out to comedy clubs. You're going out to bars. You're out potentially spreading the virus. fuck you. If you
Yes.
if you don't want to get vaccinated, like I kind of reached a point where I was like, you can't control other people. I can only control me. I'm gonna get vaccinated. The people I love are gonna get vaccinated. There's gonna be idiots who don't. But I'm just like, if you're one of the idiots that doesn't, and you go out all the time and you're spreading it, go fuck yourself. Like, you should.
That's such a good point.
If you're an anti-vaxxer, you should just stay the hell inside. Like,
Yeah, stay the
that's should be the rule.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm so glad you added that, because that's such a key point. Is like, yeah, fuck it. If you're stupid enough to decide that science isn't something you believe in all of a sudden, well, then stay the fuck home.
And
you leave your house and everything is science. So, well, everything in your house too, but like, just stay in your own little fucking bubble.
Yeah, and if you're freaked out because people are getting flu symptoms for a couple days, like, but then you go out and you potentially get this virus and spread it to people.
Yeah, spread it to vulnerable people, right?
Oh my God, it's just
fucking infuriating.
Like, how long into this pandemic are we? Like a year and a half? Even more than that, maybe? Like,
yeah, we're not on the arse end yet. Like, it's just
it's madness. It's madness.
Really frustrating.
And this is to say, I think both of us are you double vaxxed?
I am. Tomorrow will be my 2-week mark from the second one.
Congratulations!
Yay! What about you? You've had your second.
Yeah, I had my second, so it'll be Monday for me. That'll all be fully.
That's so exciting.
Fully, I gotta say that it did hit me hard, the side effects. But as a workaholic, I was like, well, I'm gonna take this as a break. Welcome break. I was actually like excited to get the side effects, because I was like, I could just stay in bed and avoid people. Like, fuck. Oh my gosh. Great rant. Great rant.
I got no side effects. If anyone wants to hear about like that's a thing.
None?
And I have a couple of friends that had none as well. So like, I'm not saying that's definitely going to be the case for you, but just think about like, weigh up your options,
Weigh up your options. And I will say,
your options with other people in mind.
Yeah,
and maybe even strangers, because you should really care about all people, not just the ones that you fucking want to go on vacation with.
Yep. Yeah, people really do suck, but also, I will say, you're not allowed at Sad Girl Studios unless you're vaccinated.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Fuck that.
Yeah. I always say, like, there's another segment we'll be doing, Unpopular Opinion. I'm like, I really hope that no podcast guest just breaks out like I don't think the vaccine works on me.
Yeah. Like, get out of my house.
At the end of the podcast, just like fucking.
Oh dear.
Oh my gosh. So Lauren, okay, so like we're gonna get into this, because there is something about you that I love, because you're one of the only people I know that I share this with, because I don't know a lot of people with this. So demisexuality, baby.
Hell yeah.
You are also bisexual. So you're bisexual, demisexual.
Currently identifying as. As I deep dive during the pandemic, as a lot of us have deep dived in a lot of things during the pandemic, because we've had a lot of time to self-reflect and explore. Yeah.
Was that when you kind of figured it out? Was during the lockdown?
No, I've known I'm bisexual for a long time, and demisexuality was a term I discovered maybe a year or two ago. Definitely before the pandemic, maybe like a year before the pandemic, I would say. But it's something that has just really rung even truer during the pandemic, and that I've like, again, with my podcast, but also just like deep diving. And then I had TikTok for a while, and the kids know what's up. They know how to educate you. So yeah, it's just something that like, I feel like I have this spiel down pat now of like how to describe it. Whereas for a while I was like, it's like,
Yeah. What is, because this is interesting, because I mean, we can Google, we can look up definitions of things. But in your mind, what is demisexuality to you?
Yeah. So for a really long time, I've kind of described it as, you don't have a sexual attraction to someone until you have an emotional connection. And that doesn't mean that everyone you have an emotional connection with, you'll have a sexual attraction to. It just means the emotional connection is a prerequisite. Nice. And to add to that, it's like every demisexual is different. And for me as a demisexual, it's different for every person. It might take weeks or it might take years. But recently I kind of was doing some writing for a project, and all of a sudden I realized I was like, okay, I don't think that sexual attraction is the right word for me as a demisexual, because it's like varies from person to person. I think just physical attraction is the best word, because for me, like, a first date, the thought that someone might try and kiss me or hold my hand sends me into like a whirlwind of anxiety, because I know I'm telling you things you already know, but this is for the listeners.
Yes.
Is that it's not a choice. It's not the same as being like, I just rather get to know someone before I have sex with them, which is fine and great. And you're so okay if that's what you choose to do your thing. Absolutely. But it's not the same thing. It's not a choice. It's like, I would love to just see a hot person on the street and decide I'm attracted to them. But that's not the way it works. I would love to like receive advances from someone attractive at a bar and chat to them, and that not be an awkward situation for me.
My God,
Yeah.
I know. I would love to have a slutty phase if I could.
Yeah.
Like I
I've tried
actually
so hard.
I have a joke about demisexuality, which is like,
Yeah.
essentially, well, I kind of referenced Demi Lovato at one point, being like, it's not, I don't have to listen to Demi Lovato to come. That's just coincidence. And then I literally say like, yeah, you need like the emotional connection. And like, so I couldn't have a slutty phase even if I wanted to. And I firmly believe that. I've never had a slutty phase. Like really, like I would say like there was definitely a time that I was a little more slutty, but I still required a level of trust and comfort with somebody before I would do that. Like, I don't think I've ever had a one night stand.
No, and neither have
think.
I. And I've tried. I've had the intention of setting out to do that before, and then it hasn't happened.
Did you get to the point where you like met up with somebody and like really tried, or?
No, it was just like, it was before I knew the term demisexuality, or that just like having these feelings weren't just a phase I was going to grow out of. Because I was like, this is a phase, right? I'm going to grow out of it, right? And the closest I ever came to a one night stand was meeting someone at Bailey's and like having just met them that night, and like we thought it was a funny joke we met some Australians there, and then we like, you know when drunk people just decide things are funny and they're not, but we decided it would be funny to pretend to be a couple. And so we went along, but it wasn't like a thing where we went aside and we're like, okay, if they ask, we'll say this. It was like, as they would ask questions, we would just make them up on the spot. So, and we were drunk, so it was hilarious. But that kind of from there, then later that night, like I hooked up with that person, and I was like, whoa, that's never happened to me before after meeting someone that quickly. And I think A, alcohol, but B, because I developed this false sense of emotional connection, saying they'd been my partner for years. Obviously, if I was sober, I don't think that emotional connection would have been like the same thing. But like, yeah, that's the closest I ever came to a one night stand. And then I continued to see that person on and off. So like, it definitely wasn't a one night stand.
And that's wild too, because even though, yeah, I guess like if you generally look at it, it wasn't like a really thick emotional connection, but you still in the moment felt connected.
Yeah.
And so like that's why you were able to do that, which is so fascinating. Like it's weird. I did an Instagram poll being like, do you guys know what demisexuality is?
What were the results?
And it was actually higher for no. I do think it's one of those sexualities that people are quite unfamiliar with. Mm-hmm. Here it is. 70% no.
Wow. Okay.
30% yes. And then I did actually have another little question here, which was what do you guys think it is? Like what do you think it is? And I had a typo in it, so I ended up deleting the post, but I did get some responses. So some of the responses were some people wrote jokes. So someone wrote someone who is only attracted to demigods. Someone wrote, when I'm horny 50% of the time and not the other 50% of the time.
I mean, that's a really abstract way to describe it.
Yes, right. And then some people were bang on. So someone said finding emotional attachments sexually stimulating, which is true. Prioritizing connections over physical, like connections over physical. I think that was all she said. And that was it. That was pretty much it. So some people do tend to know what it is, but I think what you said about the fact that like this doesn't mean that like every person that we're close with we want to bang.
Right. Exactly.
It just means that it's like the prerequisite, like exactly what you said. It's a great way to say it.
Yeah. And I think the fact that, you know, a majority of the people who took that poll didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was, and I am it. So like, it's just one of those things, like I talk about it a lot on social media, and I love the amount of people that come to me and be like, I'd never heard of this before, but like, thank you for talking about it. Cause I think this is something I'm like,
it resonates. It can resonate really hard because demisexuality and like I'd love to like look into this more and like explore asexuality a little bit more.
It's on the asexuality spectrum.
It's on that spectrum, which is wild to me because for me, like I used to always have the highest sex drive, horniest person ever. You want to know why? I was in love with people. There was people I was literally in love with. Well,
that's what it is. That's it, right, Sarah? That's exactly what it is. It's like I love having sex, but when I'm not like, it's like I've been in a pandemic. We've been in a pandemic for so long, and it hasn't bothered me once that I haven't had someone to sleep with. But when I've been dating someone or seeing someone, it's like, yeah, let's fucking go.
It's like
any chance we get.
Exactly. It's the strangest friggin' thing because for me, like I always say, like the other thing with me is like I'm also a love addict. So I have a lot of issues, Lauren. I'm a codependent love addict, demisexual. Like I'm just a recipe for disaster.
We are the same person.
Love addiction for me, I think was when I read the characteristics of love addiction, that for me was the moment of I've never identified with something more in my entire life, which was essentially just like you put everything into what other people think of you. You are very codependent with guys that you have feelings for, and like all of this. But like it's a strange thing. Like, was there a defining moment for you where you really went, like you had that attempted one night stand experience, but was there any other defining moments where you were like, yes, I'm definitely demisexual, like for sure?
I think before I knew what that term was, the first time it flagged that maybe this isn't just like something I'm going to grow out of is when I was in my earlier 20s. And so like when I lost my virginity, I was a teenager and it was my teenage boyfriend. And then everyone I kind of had sexual experiences with between then and when this break happened were people I was dating or really good friends with that we were like, just like one day we hooked up and then that happened a few more times. Like, but I had that connection with them. So it was okay. Like that's a thing too. It's like, I don't necessarily have to date them. It's like, it doesn't mean we're going to be in a relationship. It just means now I'm there with you. But then I remember I'd moved to a different place. And so I hadn't, like, there was no one in my life, I guess, now looking back at it that like fit into that box, no pun intended. And I didn't have sex or kiss anyone, let alone have sex or anything in between for like 3 years. And I remember because I was in my early 20s, and I remember when it got to the 1 year feeling so embarrassed and so ashamed because the expectation at that age too, when we're all going out and having drinks and meeting cool people. And I lived in a town where there was like hot backpackers everywhere all the time. So like you literally could just like hook up with a hot person and never see them again. So all my friends are doing that. And I was like, and I had someone, I wasn't vocal about the fact that it had been that long because I was so embarrassed, but I did have a friend, because it ended up being like a 3-year-ish break. And then the next person I slept with was a friend down the line, that we had like a casual kind of thing. But during that break, I remember another friend, we're all at a bar, and him being like, Lauren, like, you're never looking at people when we're at the bar. He's like, I notice like the rest of us will like check people out or like be looking for someone cool to maybe talk to. which are all totally fine and normal things that people do at the bar. I totally get it. He's like, but I just noticed you're just like here. I'm really present in our conversation and never looking around. And like, he didn't have an answer for it. It was just something he flagged. And then another friend during that time had mentioned being like, do you think you're asexual? Another close friend genuinely asked me that with like from a place of love. And I had someone else ask me the same question at another time in my life. So that was like the real period where I was like, yeah, this isn't like a coincidence. This is a thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so then like the break was over for a while and I had some like other things. And then I came to Canada and there was another break. And now it's just like in my life, I just recognize that there's breaks sometimes. So I've had like a couple of like 3-year breaks. I've had a couple of like 6 months, 1 year breaks. Like the pandemic is 1.5 years long now, but but like I hadn't had sex with anyone for over a year before that, and it didn't bother me. I'd gone on a few dates and like made out with some people, but like they were people that like even that it like took some time for me to get to that point.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Everything you're saying to me is just like ringing so true because for me, and one thing I feel like sometimes you learn these things the hard way, and for me I think, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but I would actually try to have sex with people a little too soon, or people I wasn't dating, or people who weren't committed to me. And then I would instantly get feelings because I think I already probably had feelings anyway, and that's why I had sex with them. But then it turns out, oh, I don't want anything to do with you, and then I'm heartbroken. And I just go, well, I think it's literally, well, one, I'm probably just not cut out for casual sex. I don't know if demisexuality is the best for casual sex, depending, you know, it all depends on the person. But like for me, like I learned a lot of those things the hard way, and also just the ability, you're right, the ability to like kind of look objectively at someone and go, yes, you are an attractive person. Yeah. But I feel nothing.
Yes, exactly. I can totally see that you're a good-looking human being, or that you're a wonderful, radiant human being. I can see all of these qualities in you, but I'm not feeling it anywhere.
I don't feel it anywhere. And also, too, and this is kind of wild, and I don't know if this is tied into demisexuality, but like if you're not feeling yourself, like I haven't masturbated in months because I'm just I'm not actually connected to myself even.
Interesting.
So like the actual self-love.
I don't know if that is like, that's not a factor for me. Like I definitely have a healthy relationship with myself.
Yes. And that's why I love you. Yeah.
Which is like also something that I like, the fact that I can confidently say that, coming from a Catholic upbringing where it wasn't talked about and probably definitely shamed.
Yeah.
Guess what? She makes love to herself. Yeah. So I don't know. And that's not to say that doesn't mean it's a demisexuality thing. It's different for everyone. So
probably and there's so many factors that go into this. I mean, we can get in like hormones and like sex drive things. Like everything's a combination of things, I feel like, but it's just an interesting idea where you go like connection is so important. Like it's like this all-encompassing thing. And like for me it's like I had this like fucking hot guy wanting to hook up like somewhat recently, a couple months ago, sending me pictures, and like by all standards I should have been like, let's go. Didn't feel a thing. I was I had zero interest. I was like, unless you want to actually get to know me, like I'm not doing this. And it was a moment, I was actually like really proud of myself because I finally caught it, and I went, this isn't happening because I'm only going to get hurt. And
you could name it now. It's better. Like I feel better now. I can name it and be like, this isn't for me.
Yes, this is what it is. Demisexuality.
Yeah. And I'm not a fucking prude. Thanks everyone that's ever called me one.
Oh my gosh.
I have a question.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I have a question because like talking about demisexuality, and I'm so enjoying talking to someone who gets it. There's a couple of things like you said about that I'm not sure if these are demisexuality things, but I'd be curious to know if you relate to them. The first being, like you mentioned the hot guy that like wanted to hook up, which is definitely something I've experienced. But do you ever, this is something that's happened a few times, completely miss, because it's not the way you behave, but completely miss signals from people not necessarily wanting to hook up, but like they're genuinely interested in like taking me out or hanging out, or like they're texting me every day. and they want to like hang out and go to dinner or like go to a show or like do all these things. And I'm just like, I'm just like, and I'm not brushing them off because I'm not interested. I'm just genuinely treating them the same way I would treat you and be like, hey, I'm really busy, but like do you want to like in 2 weeks, do you want to like do this? And then they're consistent until they're not, because obviously they're just like, well, she's not interested in me. So like, I'm going to back off. But I don't want to say blown it, but I've been clueless on numerous occasions with people like this, that then obviously by the time I come around, for want of a better phrase, and realize what's happening, and by which point normally lines up with me developing the emotional connections, and now I'm on the same path, they've rightfully so been like, meh.
Moved on. And that's I don't have a lot of people wanting to hang out with me.
Well, I mean, like, maybe this is past Lauren, like.
Yeah, but that kind of leads me to another question I have, which is like, so you're not really picking up on these signs because you don't quite have that like emotional connection with them yet. What to you, like, what does it take for you to feel that? Is it like a natural, is it like kind of a situation where, like, in my mind, when I think of an ideal connection, it's something that happens naturally, whether it's like you meet through mutual friends or you already are friends, and you just, for me, like having 3-hour conversations with people, I'm like, I could be in love with any podcast guest, because like you talk for someone for 3 hours, like I could easily be in love with anyone.
That is how I feel about, okay, not even real people, characters. I've talked about this before, but characters in the TV shows I binge, and especially during the pandemic, because I spent so much time alone binging sitcoms with like cool, cute, hot people that I develop an emotional connection to, because I've been spending 2 hours a day with them.
Yep.
Of course, and I don't realize that I had some pretty wild, sexy dreams over the pandemic, and then just were like, oh, okay, I need to stop watching Great British Bake Off because Noel Fielding and I are not in a relationship. Like,
so do you think it's consistency? Like, do you think it's someone in your life I heard a quote recently that was like, consistency is a love language, and I was like, oh my god,
yes.
Oh my god, that's my love language.
Wow, that blew my mind.
Right?
I think you're right, because that would also explain the, like, again, I don't like to use this phrase, but until I can think of a better way to phrase it, the coming around.
Yes,
for me, because I do think about, and like I said, there was a couple of people where this has kind of happened, and now that I know it, and again during the pandemic been able to like dive into it more, I can name it, so that when the world opens up again, I can be upfront with people and be like, this is how I feel, this is who I am. If you're interested in me, you have to name it. But there's no, like, you can't just go and say that to every person you meet. And it's totally understandable that someone wouldn't come up to you and be like, hi, I think you're really cool, or whatever it is, and I'd like to hang out with you, and blah blah blah. No, it's totally reasonable for most human beings to just be like, hey, do you want to hang out sometime? And
exactly.
I don't know what that means. So like, how do we tell people? But then yes, the consistency of them asking that, so then obviously you get to know them better. Yeah. Oh my god, we're fucked.
We are fucked. Like it's just it you know what, like, it's a beautiful thing to be like. I think there's so many beautiful aspects of it, but there's so many 100%. Challenges with it. There's so many challenges that it's like really hard, and it does. I don't know if you find this. Are you somebody who, when you get hurt, do you hurt hard? Like, are you someone who... That
was going to be my other question.
Oh my gosh.
It takes me, as long as it takes me to warm up, it takes me maybe twice as long to get over you. Because I feel like I've built such a fucking connection.
Fuck, man.
Breakups have fucked me. And I thought, again, I was like, oh, it's just because I was young. I was a teenager. I was in my early 20s. And then I had a relationship like a couple of years ago that, like, any normal person would not have taken that long to get over that relationship, because, like, for whatever reason. And it wasn't, I don't, like, at the end of the day, I don't even, it's just I don't know. It wasn't always just them. It was like the idea of it too. It was like, no, I put so much into this, like more than not just like a normal person would. And I'm using air quotes if you're only listening to this, normal,
yeah.
Like, it's not just like I put in a lot of time and effort. It's like, no, I fucking put so much into this that you'll never understand.
Yes, you put
Because
you
you're
put
not
so much of
demisexual.
yourself into it is the thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of energy, and it's a lot of
Yeah.
mental energy, and also too, it's like because we value connection so much, it's probably one of those things where I don't know if you feel this way, but like I feel like I have very few close connections, but I cherish those close connections. Like with my life, like I would jump in front of a train for these people kind of thing. And so like when you lose that, we feel it 10 times harder,
You're
like
mourning. It's mourning that person.
It's grief.
Mourning that part of it. And then, so I want to ask you this then, if it takes you a really long time to get over a breakup or whatever, the same way it does for me, it's not like, I feel like for a lot of people, some people are like, yeah, sometimes it takes me a while to get over a breakup, but then gradually I am. I'm like, no, it takes me a fucking long time. And then one day I just wake up and I'm okay.
Yes.
It's not gradual at all. I literally go from still being fucking miserable to one, like, I don't know whether it's just like one thing happens or what, but then I'm just like, all right.
Do you find that it's the times that you do actually get over somebody, it's like because you just haven't seen them in your life?
Fuck, Sarah.
So going back to consistency, right? If we fall in love with people because of consistency,
oh my god!
As soon as they're gone,
like real people and the TV shows, obviously that I'm like comparing myself to, because that's like I stopped watching the TV show. I stopped being attracted to and having sex dreams about Noel Fielding. Fuck me.
Isn't that wild to think about? Because for me,
the consistency thing has just blown my mind.
Consistency. And so if they're like, okay, like in my mind, like I had a recent heartbreak and this person blocked me from everything. I found out recently, like I'm blocked from everywhere. I did try to like send them a voice memo a couple months ago, essentially just being like, I'm thinking of you. I hope you're still alive. I hope you're not dead. Like, and found out that like I'm blocked everywhere. Like literally there's no trace of this person. This person ghosted me worse than Andrew Vaughn did. Like, like Andrew Vaughn is sticking around more than this guy is, but I realized that like I'm starting to get over him because I'm just not seeing this person, any trace of this person anymore. And even though it sucks and it hurts, out of sight, out of mind is the only way I can get over somebody. I've never been friends with an ex-boyfriend or an ex, like I call them dalliances, like these like situationships that aren't quite relationships, but but they're very impactful. They're equally as impactful, I think.
Shit.
And like I don't get people who can be friends with exes. I don't understand it.
You are blowing my fucking mind. This is like where's your fucking bell? Ding ding ding.
Oh, ding the bell. We're making progress. We're understanding ourselves better now.
This is so powerful. I'm so appreciative of this conversation because like this is, like you said, it does suck. Like a lot of being demisexual sucks, but knowing these things and talking them out with you here and now as well, and knowing more through this conversation can be really powerful tools that even if it still sucks, at least now we have the knowledge. Like now I have the knowledge to next time I have a heartbreak, I can say I need a clean break and give that to myself versus trying to be friends or trying to keep the peace or trying whatever the fuck.
Or checking in on them because you want to still care for these people.
Exactly.
You want to, because I can, like, it's painful. But what you said there is so correct. Like giving yourself that gift.
Yeah, it's for you.
It's just. Whew,
and then on the other side, the gift of knowing, which is something that like I have like delved into, like I said, more throughout this time alone, but like giving the gift to myself of knowing that I need this time to warm up and how to articulate that properly.
And that right there is why it's important to have conversations like these with people who relate to you, because we can then, like for me, a huge thing is like going forward with dating, like I know exactly like what has to happen. I'm not doing casual sex. I'm not doing if you send me a dick pic before a date, no,
not going on the date.
No, like I actually like I need you to be obsessed with me. I need you to be obsessed with me and like to really want to get to know me and get close to me, because that's literally my standard, and I don't care if people think that's a high standard, because that's exactly what I need. And that's like what I've learned
Because you're
through
gonna
all these
return that,
hurts.
so fucking be on the same level. Get on my level. Get out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty wild. The consistency thing is so and it probably, I mean, to go even deeper with it, it could probably go back to like childhood wounds and stuff too. Like if you were someone who grew up feeling like people always let you down, or people didn't show up for you, it would make sense that you would really want that for like a partnership. You would want someone who could show up for you every day, kind of thing. I call it like the morning and night person. Like that's what I want. Like I want a good morning person and a good night person in my life.
Wow.
And when I don't have that, I feel insanely lonely. Like the most lonely when I don't have someone going, morning, like you know, over your coffee, you're texting them, or like you text them before you go to sleep, kind of thing. Like that for me is the real deal.
Yes. So people listening to this who are obviously in love with both of us, obviously,
you know we're in love with you, probably.
Yes. And you're like, I just don't know. I don't know how to read her. I don't understand. What you need to do is be consistent with your texts. And then on the other hand, if you're listening to this being like, Lauren will not leave me alone, then you just need to stop writing back to my texts.
Yes.
Ghost me. Get out.
You know what? Like maybe ghosting is a good thing. Like maybe
For us?
Maybe there's some advantages to it. I don't know. It's pretty damaging.
Maybe let me know. Like maybe ghosting isn't the right thing. Maybe be like, I'm going to go now. And then go.
Here's what it is. It's like ghosting with closure. Because I think that there's value in taking space. And like I said, I just seriously don't get people who can try to maintain friendships with people that have hurt them. But I really like closure. And I actually posted an Instagram poll being like, hey guys, like, does closure matter in getting over somebody? Like, is it like a official close to a chapter, or an official goodbye, or whatever it is? In my mind, I see closure as it's a goodbye, but it's also a conversation that leaves you understanding what happened more. For me, I love closure, and I will still struggle with getting over people, but I would much rather have it than not have it. You know?
Absolutely. It's not a switch you can just flick off.
Do you have anything that you've found is good for you when getting over somebody? Like what's your kind of go-to?
I mean, just never seeing them again.
Right.
Oh my gosh. I feel like a lot of the bigger breakups I've had in my life, because there was already a big intertwining of our lives before we got together, because I'm a fucking demisexual, because therefore I wasn't attracted to you until you were already very heavily in my life, that when we broke up, you're still in my life. Like I've had lots of all of the people that I've like been in relationships with, that made it really hard, because you're a big part of my life. Even if I'm trying really hard, like it doesn't mean I'm gonna like call you and hang out, but like it's been like friend groups or work or things like that have made that the case.
Yeah. It's freaking brutal. I always tell people, and I heard it somewhere, I think it was there's a TED Talk that's like how to mend a broken heart, or something like that, which is like, I'm just gonna assume, do you also idealize partners? Do you idealize them? Yeah. So a really good tip is to actually write a list of all the shitty things this person has done, all the reasons, if you could write down every moment like that they've stressed you out or hurt you or like made you feel small, and take that list and like put it on your wall and look at it every day. And like that's like a really good way to go. That's what I always tell people. I'm like, make a list of things, and don't remember, like try not to think about the good times, because
because that's all you're thinking about when you're going through a breakup. feel like, because we're in a pandemic and I moved to a new city at the start of the pandemic, that like it's going to be a really long time before I go through a breakup again. Because it's going to be a really long time before I warm up to someone again. But I'm going to keep that tip. That's right.
Are you a single gal right now? Like, are you?
I am a single gal.
Totes single. Are you looking? Is a relationship something that you want currently, or are you just going to let it happen?
Yeah, I think if it happens, it happens. I think any of the times I've ended up dating someone, that hasn't been the intention. It's just like all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, I'm attracted to you and you're attracted to me.
Yeah.
But it's never been my intention. So I don't think I'm ever looking, but if a good thing comes along, I'm not going to say no to it. That's, you don't say no to things that seem good for you, right? You shouldn't. So, but I feel like just like current life circumstances mean that's probably going to be a while because I don't go anywhere.
And what's the COVID situation in Montreal?
It's getting better. Like, I shouldn't say I go nowhere. I've been to a couple of patios of recent, so that's been nice. I have a couple of really cool friends here. I like 5 or 6 really good friends. But none of them are romantic interests.
Right.
And they're not ones that could turn into a romantic interest either. So
I love how that's like a demisexual win. It's like, I have a friend and they're only a friend.
Yeah.
Check.
They're in relationships, or our sexualities are not compatible, or both. Like, so yeah, we're gonna be fine. They are friends.
So in your mind, Lauren, so for a guy or gal looking to take you out on a date,
oh my gosh,
what's your ideal date?
I hate dates. I haven't been on many.
I haven't.
I detest them.
I detest them too.
I'm so nervous. They make my palms sweaty.
Yeah.
Like, that is demisexuality. I hate it. I hate it so much. I don't drink anymore, but when I would drink, I would just like drink a lot if I knew I was going on a date, because like I was fucking terrified. Yeah. Like, God, that's another thing I have to think about. I've never been on a sober date, so that's joyful. I just would rather not. I would rather something organically happen. Like, but then how does that work? Like, unless you're a friend or like a coworker, which like try to avoid that. That's not a good idea. Yeah. Then like, how do you form these organic
connections,
relationships,
without investing too much that you resent it?
Yeah, or investing too much and then it's only one-sided too.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just be like, oh, this person is my friend and let's see what happens, when they're just like, yeah, cool, we're friends. Like, because that's not how it works either. It's not like I get my eyes set on someone and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to like hang out with them until I feel things.
Yes. It's why literally, that's exactly why most of my crushes, in fact, probably all of them, were friends. They were people I already knew, and I was getting to know naturally anyway. So like, I'm gonna fall for them. Like, like, it's just like an instant. It's just so much easier, with friends. Yeah, they're all friends or people that I just know through whatever. Like, maybe I go to where they work a lot, so I have they serve me at their place of work a bunch, so I formed a relationship with them that way. Or they perform on stage, not as a comedian. So you like, they're that was my favorite not a comedian moment.
Not a comedian, never again. She said multiple times in her life. So it's just like, there are other ways to find these connections, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess it is just, and I mean, this kind of leads nicely into like what I want to talk to you next, which is self-love and self-discovery, because we hear so many cliches, like when we're alone and single. Like, one big one is you have to love yourself before you can live. And I say it like that because I just resented that statement for so long, and I'm only now coming into realizing that how true it is, and also realizing the sheer importance of loving yourself and being totally satisfied with you, so that when that natural connection comes into your life, it's a bonus and not like a requirement or not a neediness thing. And it's just a bonus, that something that enhances your life versus something that you need. And you are like the perfect example of this, because number one, you do a lot of things. You have a lot of passions that you do, but also like you clearly love yourself. So how did you get here? I want to know about this self-love journey, because it truly inspires me, and it's really nice to see online too, like just your presence, and even if it's just like you like taking a selfie being like, I'm hot as fuck. Like I love that, and I want to get there. So like, how did you get here?
I don't know if there was like a specific journey. I will say though, as a friendly reminder, that everything you see online is a highlight reel.
Yeah,
you don't see
so
everything. I do consider myself someone who's pretty confident and loves life and myself to the best of my ability, but that doesn't mean it's perfect. Like the last year and a half, well, not just the last year and a half, but to take that chunk of time, I've had some fucking awful days, you know, like it happens to everyone. We just don't always post online. So
Truth.
I just want to start by saying I'm not always the person you see online, but
I actually love to
I can spread some joy.
I actually love to hear that, because like I don't want anyone to listen to any podcast I do assuming that the guest is perfect, because they're not, and that's why I have them on.
I'm pretty close, but like
you're dang close to it. I remember seeing like an Instagram story that you did. I don't know, it might have been at the last lockdown, but it was you reading old journals or old diaries.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
wow.
That's something at the start of every year. I'll read my journal from the year before. It's like my New Year's thing, and kind of think about the things that happened last year. And this time, because a lot of it was spent alone, some of them were really interesting, and I just decided to read some of those on my Instagram story and like tag people that maybe I was talking about. It was fun, but it was like, I especially wanted to share, there was a few where I was just like, really fucking, they were funny. Like I wasn't on my Instagram story crying, but I was like, this fucking sucks. Everything fucking sucks. Like reading from my journal. I fucking hate everything. Fuck. And like, so it was funny, but also like the person who wrote that was not laughing.
Right.
She was fucking pissed and sad and angry and over everything.
That's wild.
Yeah. I don't really know if I have an answer to how I got to where I am, because I feel like I don't think it was a conscious decision I made, but B, I don't think the journey's ever over as well.
Oh, that's so true.
It's just like, yeah, I think I just try my best. I just try my best. And I think the more I lean into the things that make me versus, and I still do this, I'm still guilty of it, but the less I try to be other people is probably the better way to say it. The more, and I feel like, I tweeted about this recently because I had a big breakthrough in a life coaching session where I was like, holy shit, because I've spent all this time alone, I'm the most authentic version of myself that I've ever been. And that just like blew me away, because I was like, there's less outside influence, there's less people impacting how I dress or act or what I say or what I do. Like I pick my outfit in the morning for Zoom, sure, but I pick my outfit in the morning based on who do I want to be today, not who am I going to see today.
Oh my gosh.
You know, like,
that is
it's just so
cool.
I think this year and a half has really brought it up a notch, if there was going to be an answer.
Did you uncover, and like this is kind of like an icky question, so feel free to like avoid the answer if it's too deep, but like when you were in this process of being alone and like self-reflecting, did anything come up that you were like, oh, this is something about myself that I freaking hate, and it's ugly and it's brutal? Because that is something that like I always think about when I see people that I'm jealous of, like people who are usually in relationships, because I'm a love addict. I often go, wow, like they, you know, say people like couples that have like been together since high school or something, like they've been together a long time. It's like, these people have never had the real alone time that, say, a single person in a lockdown would have of like truly looking into themselves and figuring out who they are. And so like to flip it around, like it's actually awesome to be single and learn these things because you can become your true authentic self, but it brings up some ugly stuff too.
Yeah.
Did anything come up for you that was like that stood out to you as like a learning experience, or like maybe something even that like you're still working on, because like you said, it doesn't end?
For sure. I think quite a few things came up, and like I've been seeing a life coach for just over a year now, and she's fucking changed my life. So we work through a lot of these things together, and she's helped bring out like lots of good for me, so much good, and help me work through some not so good. But I do remember going back to those journal entries. I don't think I read this one aloud on my Instagram story, but I do remember seeing it. Actually, do you have a second? I'll find it. Okay, give me 1 second.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, I have my 2020 journal, and I remember it was like early in the pandemic times. So let's find March, because I remember thinking it was early enough that I was like, bitch, you're alone for 6 days. Like, if only you knew. Something like that.
You're in for it.
If only you knew what you were fucking in for. My handwriting.
Oh, do you have messy handwriting?
Oh, when I'm journaling? Yeah. But actually, this is interesting. My journal entries are so neat now, I don't drink. It's not that interesting. It's probably just something that would be very obvious.
That's hilarious.
It is day 6. I remembered that correctly. Okay. This is from March 20th of 2020, day 6 in isolation. I realized today I act the way I do in romantic relationships, seeking people who don't know how to show emotional love. And then my go-to is to then bicker, as my mind tells me that is the only way to show, therefore receive passion, because that's the only love I've known from watching my parents. To do after this is over, the pandemic doesn't ever end, is to undo this in therapy and work through this to help me find fair, open, loving love that I deserve and that I want to give with someone, but also with myself.
Wow.
And then March 21st, right under that, it says, today is harder. Being alone is also worrying. So, you know, this can be like published in 20 years time, and people be like, this bitch.
Do you want to know what? And do you want to know what I love about that? Like, that wasn't even a long journal entry. You just wrote something.
Yeah, they're normally pretty short, my journal entries. Yeah.
Isn't it insane how much seeing our parents affects us? I never used to think that until recently as well, where I go, oh shit, like this is why I do this is why I do that, this is why I act this way. And so much of it is tied to like that early attachment, and like also what you see, how you see your parents act and like their romantic partnership. Like it's fucked.
Yeah. I mean, I love my parents so much, and like obviously I don't want to comment on anything too like and say that they did a shit job, because they definitely didn't, but like to your point, like we absorbed so much and we learned so much from them. And like they broke up when I was 10 but remained on and off friends for years, and it was this passionate friendship of like being best fucking friends to the point where you just assumed they were still married, to fucking hating each other. And it was just like from both sides, from anger or with love. It was just so passionate. And that's what I learned. That's what I learned watching them. Like, that's love.
Yeah.
It's not love. That's not the love I want anyway. You know, I don't want to be deriving love out of you.
Yeah. And those two extremes of like, it kind of reminds me of like the couples that are like, you're either having passionate sex or you're yelling at each other. And it's like, yeah, no, love is actually like calming. Like it should be, it should feel like, I heard something, I don't remember where I heard it from, because I consume a lot of shit, but like I heard something that was like essentially like, if you have butterflies, it's actually a bad sign.
I've read that. Yeah.
like, and I had a somewhat recent crush that like was a little bit different in the sense that like I was like, oh, this person calms me. And like that's a new thing for me as well, because I also too was driven towards like those passionate like interactions, the fighting, the yelling, the being so frustrated with somebody, but then like also wanting to fuck their brains out, like I was always driven towards that too, until like somewhat recently where I was like, okay, I need to like more guys that like just make me calm and not trigger cortisol going up and down like so much. Oh my God.
I think just learning better communication skills is something that, and I'm not going to say I'm like the worst girlfriend that's ever existed, because I'm pretty great, but that was definitely a flaw that I realized for myself, and fuck knows how I came up with that on day 6 in isolation. Who the fuck was texting me, making me, who knows? Why was that my journal entry? Don't know.
Do you journal every day? Every single day?
Every day. So I've been doing it. There's a ton of books down there. I think I've been doing it for about 5 years, and then I have a couple that, like, because I took a break for a while, I have a couple from a few years before that. But yeah, every day. And it's never a long necessary, unless there's like a lot I want to get off my chest, but it's not like I try and write pages. It's just like what's on my mind right before bed, and then I go to bed with it, like getting it off my mind, whether it's good or bad, just like sealing off the day.
That's like, I need to do this, because I think the reason it intimidates me is because I assume you have to write like 2 pages of like formal.
Sometimes it's one sentence.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah. And what a treat to actually have these to look back on and go, look how far I've come, or like have some sympathy for yourself too. Like when I did shadow work, the first page was writing an apology letter to yourself, which is fucking deep as shit.
Yes, that's huge. Like, it's really nice when I read these back, because to your point, I can have more love for myself, because there's a few things that might happen. You might see something really sweet about someone in your life, and you can take a photo and send it to them and be like, you don't know how much this meant to me on that particular day. Another thing that might happen is like, wow, I remember when that thing was really fucking me over, and now I can read this and be like, it doesn't hurt me like that anymore. And the third thing, which is the most fun, is when you read something and you're like, I don't even remember that happening.
Yeah. And like also like the things you worried about or the things you stressed out about.
Yeah, it all worked out. Or it didn't, but it's okay.
It is kind of like going back to like getting over somebody. Like you just go, when you're actually over somebody, you look back and you go, how the fuck did I love this person?
I know. Well, that's going back to the switch, right? I'm like totally like, I'm never going to get over them. I'm never going to get over them. And then one day I woke up and I was like, oh no.
Oh gosh.
I wrote that list that you said I should write, but I wrote it all in one night in my sleep, and then woke up and was like, fuck, no, thanks, done, bye.
Oh my gosh. You're right. The journey never ends, and it's like a constant choice every day to be kind to yourself. Do you ever struggle with negative self-talk at all? Like, do you ever get really mean to yourself ever?
I think I'm a lot better at not doing that now, but that's not to say I don't do it at all. I think I have gone through phases where I'm like not in a good headspace, and that becomes a big part of keeping me in that headspace. Like, that I'm not good enough, or I'm not accomplishing enough, or like I was stupid for doing this or saying that, or thinking about things I've said or done, or the way I've treated other people. And like some of that stuff is good to think about. Like maybe if you've treated someone like shit, you should reflect on that. But like, there's definitely negative self-talk that I have when I'm in those not so great headspaces. But I feel like in the last few years, I've managed to keep those headspaces more in check.
Yeah.
Question mark.
Yeah.
But also during the pandemic, wasn't a good example, so maybe not. I think I'm just better at recognizing them and coping with them now.
That's actually tools. That's a great way to look at it, because you're not ever gonna fully solve it, but if you can just control it a little bit, it's kind of like, it just makes me think of like, it's a weird comparison, but like acne. Like for example, I have really bad skin, but now I have more control over it. I know when it's happening. At the first sign, I instantly start taking better care of myself, try to get more sleep, try to drink more water, take the makeup off earlier in the night. And it's just literally a choice to be like, I know this is coming, but I'm going to try to stop it as best I can before it happens, even though it's still going to happen, but it's not going to be as bad.
Yes, absolutely.
It's the same thing with negative self-talk.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of like gratitude? Like with your journaling, do you do anything like with gratitude?
Yeah, most like my journaling did start like this one's called 2020 Happy Thoughts.
Oh, I love that.
That's how my journaling used to always be until this year. It's just like, well, actually until last year, I guess, because last year I think it took a turn as we heard from March 20th. That could be a happy thought though. Anyway, it used to just be like and I started doing this when I was in one of those shitty headspaces a few years ago where I was in like a pretty deep depression and knew that I'd done it years before and it had helped. Definitely didn't fix everything, but it helped. At the end of the day, you write the best thing about your day. And some days that's going to be really fucking easy, but some days that's going to be really fucking hard because you're not in a good headspace, but you're forced to think of something good right before you go to bed. So some days it was like, I saw a cute dog on the bus. And guess what? The rest of my day was shit. But the beauty of it is, A, you're thinking of the good right before bed. But B, again, when you go back to read these, you've just got 365 good memories. And the bad doesn't exist anywhere.
I really like that. That's best part of your day. Yeah, because I guess a lot of gratitude journals, like it's either best part of your day or something you were grateful for.
Yeah,
today.
exactly. Yeah. So this year I've definitely shifted to more like, I wouldn't say it's like a negative journal, but like just being a bit more open and real. Like I feel like my journals are very much like my Instagram feed for a long time where it was like all of the good, which was good because I needed that at that time. I needed it to help me stay in that headspace. But then I realized over the last couple of years that again, I have better tools and stuff now. So maybe it will just help to sometimes write about the frustrating things as well, or the other feelings I'm feeling.
Well, because you're getting it out on the page. You're not.
Yes.
It's a physical page. It's yours. You're not, you might post it publicly, but you might not. But like you've control over it. Yeah, you don't have.
Yeah.
And like resentment is such a shitty feeling. Like just building up negative energy. Like, I don't know if you're like this, but like if something's bugging me, I gotta talk to someone about it. Like I gotta get it out to somebody, and or else it'll just bubble and it'll come out in the worst ways, like that resentment. So that's why we have a rant segment on this podcast, bitches. Because I want
vaccinated, motherfuckers.
I want that negative energy out, and then we can have this beautiful conversation about
Demisexuality.
demisexuality.
That's very well thought out that you get that out off the top and just let everyone like release their anger and then like okay, now let's cozy up.
deep breaths. So do you seem to have like a lot of amazing friends. Like I always see like you and your friends on Instagram and I'm like, what a beautiful life she has. Do you struggle with loneliness at all? Do you ever get lonely?
Yeah, I do. I'm very much a social person. I do have lots of beautiful friends. I'm very lucky that way. I learn and grow a lot because of the people I surround myself with. You're no exception to that rule. Like I surround myself with wonderful people that make my life good. But loneliness is a thing. I think because of the last, keep calling it year and a half, pandemic, there were some really hard, lonely times, but I think ultimately it made me better at dealing with loneliness. Again, just like better tools, better things to do when I'm feeling that way. But yeah, I really do. I feel lonely for particular people more than I feel lonely in general. Like less so that I'm like, I wish I had someone around me right now. It's more that I wish I was with this person or these people right now.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Going back to connection and how much we cherish connection. And it's obvious that, if you had close relationships with people and you were missing them, are you the type to reach out and be like, hey, I miss you? Like, why aren't we?
I'll text my friends anytime I'm thinking of them. Like, hey, I was just thinking of you. Hope you're having a good day. Or I miss you. Or I just remembered this thing. Or do you remember this? La, la, la. Like if I'm thinking about someone, I'll text them.
Yeah, that's actually that's a great way to do it. I always get I get so insecure with stuff like that because I'm like, I don't want them to think I'm needy or desperate or like.
Right.
Again,
you're not.
You're
telling them it's flattering. You're telling them that you're thinking of them.
It is a flattering thing. I've never had like an "I miss you" text that I didn't appreciate. Like
Of course.
I love those.
Yeah, they make your fucking day.
They really, really do. Yeah, it's such a struggle. You mentioned earlier, you were talking about balance. Like when we were talking about the workaholism thing, you're a very busybody person. Are you getting that balance? Like, do you feel like you're on the way to getting that true balance? On the way to it?
Again, I think I mentioned earlier about like how the I feel like I just keep talking about like all the time alone I've had, but I feel like all that time alone has shifted my priorities and focus that I'm now working towards having that balance more in my life. But I will say the part of my life where I make sure, because I have power to do this right now, to have that balance in my life right now is my mornings. My mornings are so precious to me. Like I'm awake at 6, but I don't start work till 10. So though I have 4 hours of like a very strict and organized routine, but it involves taking my time to eat breakfast and having like a 15-minute skincare situation and meditating and working out and writing at a writer's hour and, you know, getting dressed and doing my hair and makeup and like taking my time to do that and all of these things, checking my emails, just like, and doing it in a particular order that like I start slow and ease my way into the morning and get all my things done. So by the time I'm starting work, I've had my coffee, I've like been creative, I've moved my body, and now I'm not just like, oh, all I do is work.
You don't resent the work because you've taken that time for yourself and work is just the natural next step versus oh my God. I mean,
the natural next step. Exactly. And then if I get to the end of the workday and I'm fucking exhausted and all I do is lay on the couch, I don't have to feel bad about that. Because
you did so much I mean, that's truly inspiring. I'm so not a morning person, but that sounds amazing and like what a gift to give yourself. I'm always leaving the house feeling like a overwhelmed mess because I sleep till the latest point.
Like rushed. Yeah.
I'm a really bad sleeper because I have a lot of sleep issues right now, but like I just feel, well, I'm a natural night person too, so that doesn't help. But like I just feel so like, I'm not wearing what I want to wear and my hair isn't done and I never eat breakfast anymore because I just don't have the time. And it's just like, fuck, I wanna get there. I want to be a morning person. I don't know how I'll get there. I think it's just probably slow steps, like go to bed earlier. Yeah,
but also if it's an option for you, set your schedule later. Like if you know you're a night person, don't tell yourself you're going to wake up at 6 a.m. Be like, no, I'm going to start work at 11. So if I wake up at 9, I'm not rushing out the door. I'm giving myself the time. So of course that's not easy for everyone because work kind of dictates your hours sometimes, but like,
yeah, I was just going to say, I'm like, I wish I could do that. The disadvantage to doing that for me is the comedy lifestyle and the fact that I need my evenings for comedy.
Yes, of course.
It's like, I constantly feel like I don't have the time and it's the balance is like my number one goal. So anytime I see people who are like either succeeding with the balance or they appear to have it, I'm just like, tell me how.
What would it take for you? Not saying that this is something you can attain easily, but if there is something that could change in your life for you to have more the balance that you want, what would it be?
I'm bad with boundary setting. I think I say yes to a lot. I say yes to everything. And mind you, like with comedy, I was talking to my co-producer about this because now that I'm putting more love into Intoxicated, it's going to be even more of my evenings, which I love doing, but it is more time. I was like, I need to make it a goal every month to pre-book my open mics, not overbook open mics. So no more than 3 a week. Like 3 would be the max, and that would be like an extreme week. Like I had a week that I did 5 shows in 7 days, and I was just like, I don't even have time to like wash my clothes or like wash the dishes in the sink. Like I love doing this and it's a lot of fun, but like it's just my life. And it just can't be that for me personally. So I think I'm going to like try to like pre-book mics, don't overbook myself, say yes to opportunities as they come, but don't like overseek them kind of thing. Like I never really, I do consider myself a true open micer in that I'm happy just doing open mics because I'm learning the craft. And I'm from the Andrew Vaughn School of Comedy, which is, in the words of Andrew Vaughn, it would be, you're a fucking open micer. Like that's how he would say it. Don't think you're anything but an open micer. But I do get offered booked shows and I'll take them as they come. But like, I'm not gonna
seeking them.
Yeah, I'm not seeking them because I'm still new. So I think that's like a small thing that I'm gonna try to do to like get that balance, but also just make time for like, I don't know in a Google Calendar if I should just block time to be like friendships. Talk to a goddamn friend and not a comedian friend because you'll just end up writing jokes together.
This is something that I did, and for the longest time I'm like, it's not fucking working. Like I keep rebooking something else on that night, and then one day it was just working, and that was, I picked a night of the week where I knew it wasn't like usually a high traffic night. Like for you it would be a night that like I'm pretty sure there's comedy every night in Halifax, but maybe it's a night where like the show that's on isn't your favorite, so you don't care if you miss it. Or it's like a pro show, so you're like, the odds are I might not be on that one as much as I might be on the one the next night. That's whatever it might be. But I picked a night where I'm less likely to be booked for something between like podcast, work, other meetings, et cetera, and block that off. Like, because I use the calendar in my phone for everything. So I put an event that blocked off from like 6 p.m. till 11 p.m. and named it something like "Take a night for yourself, bitch."
I love that.
But it took time. It took time for me to do it. And now I've found it's become a habit that I have at least one night a week where it's me and the couch.
It's the you night. And that's another thing I thought too. I was like, you need one night that's actually not social, not work, just you. And like that's for errands, laundry, relaxing.
Yes.
I don't know how to relax, but I hear it's fun.
One life hack that has blown my mind is that I started getting my groceries delivered because of the pandemic. Yeah. And then when things became easier again, I still kept getting them delivered, and I got a whole half of a Saturday back.
Man,
I will pay the $5 fee because it is worth it. It is priceless that I have a whole Saturday back.
I'm with you on that. I literally had a psychic in a psychic reading tell me, please stop beating yourself up about ordering delivery. Literally, she said that, and it was so true because I was getting a lot of delivery. And she was like, you have to stop beating yourself up about it because your time is spent doing other things. And this is a gift you're giving yourself to allow yourself to eat.
Yep.
And it's the same with groceries. You're right. It's just a small thing you can do. If it's convenient, it should be worth the money to do that.
Of course.
So
you can't buy time back, but you can buy food and save time.
You can buy food and save time. I do want to ask you about stand-up because obviously we're comedy gals. We both have worked behind the scenes in comedy. You very much so. Just wow, your resume. I'm just so lucky to know you because you're a wealth of knowledge. But
oh my gosh, ditto.
But I want to ask you about you had a stint in stand-up. Number one, what was that like for you? How much of it how long did you do stand up?
A few months. I want to say more than 6 months, but less than a year. And then I left for a bit, and then I missed it, and then came back to it for a couple of months, and then the pandemic happened.
Got you. Oh, okay. So this is more recent than I thought. All right. And is it something that you said you're sometimes comedian? So is it something that in your mind you're like, I'll do it when I want to, but
it's something like right now I'm not interested in going to any shows because things have just started opening and I'm still pretty cautious. So that is quite convenient way of me being like, I'm not doing it right now. But on the same note, I have been writing one joke a week for several months. So my brain's still in it. My heart's still in it. And it was when I told my life coach that one day. I was like, yes, I've been writing jokes. And she's like, sorry, you've been doing what? Like, that's not just something someone, like, that's not something someone just does though. Like,
yeah.
just writing jokes for no reason. Just like, keep writing them. Like, and so then that's when I started doing them, like set myself a task, like in my writing sessions to make one of those a week, developing a joke. And even if 80% of them are garbage, that's still 20% of several months worth of jokes that might be good. But her point was also like, if they don't get used on stage, I've got like other writing projects that I work on. She's like, they could be used, like these are premises or stories that can be used for other things. So don't stop writing them. So yeah, sometimes comedian.
I love that you said once a week, because I actually had the last podcast I did, he was talking about one joke a day. And I was
Fuck no.
Jesus, that's too much.
No.
One joke.
Couldn't.
I had a really hard time in this last lockdown. We've had 3 lockdowns in Halifax. I just creatively could not force myself to write. I find it very hard to sit down and go, I'm going to write a joke. But I don't find it hard to jot down premises.
Yeah.
And for me, like, I want to take what you just said, one joke a week, and I want to go, Sarah, once a week, go into your phone and pick a premise and try to make a joke out of it. Like,
exactly what I do. I'm not coming up with a new thing. I'm referring to a list for sure.
Once a day that's too much.
It's a lot. And for people like you and I who constantly overbook ourselves, but if you can section off an hour on a Saturday morning or afternoon or something, whatever, like you find a time that works for you and put it in your calendar and that's your joke writing hour.
Yes.
Then that's,
I think that there's so much value in that, and just stretching the writing muscle in any way you can. Any way you can. Yeah.
Sometimes my jokes are like, when I'm writing them, I'm like, this is less of a joke and more of a journal entry, but I got it off my chest.
And you wrote it down. And
I wrote it down.
And maybe something will come to you later that you go, oh, I can now have a joke that I can write about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like that is, you're damn inspiring to me.
So are you.
In so many ways. And we're going to wrap, but we do have a last segment to get to. So unpopular opinion time.
Oh my God.
Don't hate me for this, but it's time for an unpopular opinion.
So we start at negative and we're ending negative. Or maybe not. Maybe it's a positive one, but do you have an unpopular opinion?
I struggled so much thinking of this, and then the one I ended up thinking of, we've covered so much already. And my unpopular opinion in a nutshell is, well, it's basically demisexuality. Like, I was trying to think of like a funny, fun way to say it, but like my unpopular opinion is having sex with strangers isn't fun. But like, for some people it really is.
I actually do think that, and the reason I think that is an unpopular opinion is, and this is a double-edged sword kind of thing, but like, we're in a time where women are really sexually empowered, and I call it slut encouragement, where we're so sexually empowered that it's very much so like, go fuck whoever you want, who cares, just go fuck him. And it's like, it's great,
as you should.
But for people like us, it's like, oh no we're not gonna do that. Like, I made like an OnlyFans like in the lockdown, and like ever since I told people that, it's just been like, show your tits. Like, it's what I call slut encouragement. Like, it's, be your sexy self. And it's just like, no, I want to talk to somebody in a blanket fort. Like,
yeah.
Like, that's my idea of a wild night with somebody. Like, you're right. It is. And it is. I do think that is an unpopular opinion.
Yeah.
But we just got to find more demisexuals. And
of course, I've loved
connect.
This is like the most in-depth one I've had. There was one guest I had on my podcast in the first season, Katie Ellen Humphreys, who's fucking awesome human, amazing comedian. But she and I talked about it a bit. But I mean, my podcast is about the guest more than it is about having a like a back and forth. So
Yeah.
obviously it wasn't as such of a deep dive that I had as many aha moments, but more just like, oh, thank God I'm not alone. But everything that I was like, it's like reading my journal. But this is next level, that we've like deep dived into demisexuality, because hers was more about her coming out versus like we touched on demisexuality.
I was going to ask you about the coming out thing, because, you know, I never saw myself as like coming out as demisexual. Like you know, one day I just kind of found the term and was like, oh yeah, I'm that. Like, and it wasn't this big thing, but I wonder if there's going to come a time when sexualities like this become like, hello everybody, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like it's one of those sexualities that I think it's so under the radar that people don't see it as coming out, even though it kind of is when you're admitting, I really identify with this label and I am this. Yeah. Like technically, I guess I did it on stage when the first time I ever said the joke.
And I did the same thing. My early jokes were about bisexuality, and the jokes I was telling before the lockdown were bisexuality and demisexuality.
Right.
Yeah.
But did with Demi, like, did people come up to you and go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that that you're Demi, like, you know what I mean? Like,
oh, of course. Yeah, no one's congratulating me and being like, good for you.
It's just, it's not quite as big of a thing, but
it is part of the fucking rainbow. It is part of the LGBT plus rainbow, and it's as valid as any of the others. Some people forget a lot of like the other parts of the beautiful rainbow, if it's not the LGBT, which are obviously very important and amazing. Don't get me wrong on that. But yeah, like
it's a big one. It's a big rainbow.
Sexuality and demisexuality and lots of others that, like, I had a podcast guest remind me that there are 2 Qs in the alphabet. One is queer and the other is questioning. And questioning is just as valid as everything else. And it's like, fuck, you're so right. Like, we've got to remind ourselves that, like, if you're questioning what your sexuality is, you're as valid as anyone else in the alphabet.
Ooh, goddamn. Yeah. That's a great
Shout out to Karla Marx for reminding me of that in my podcast. She's amazing.
Colin Marx. Oh my gosh. Well, is there anything that we didn't cover that you would like to? Or anything? I always ask guests this at the end of 2 hours, being like, we just talked for 2 hours. But is there anything that, you know, maybe we missed? I don't think
we missed anything. I think if I can, I want to say how much fun this has been and what, like, such an honor it's been to be a part of this podcast. That I admire you and this podcast so much. And it's like, I feel so lucky and privileged to have been a guest, but also just like, I really appreciate, I mean, you're a fantastic host. I already knew that, but like, to be able to deep dive a lot of these topics that we've talked about has been really like, fucking, I'll send you a picture of my journal entry tonight. Put it that way.
Oh, Lauren, I would love that. Well, it's just really, like I said, life can be lonely, and talking with you about this specific factor of my life has been truly like amazing as well. Like it's really nice to know that you're not alone, and like you can say things, and me saying the consistency thing and you going, oh fuck, like that.
Yes, fuck, like woof woof woof. I'm gonna be thinking about that for fucking the rest of my life, which is good.
Oh my gosh,
this is another word now. It's another word in my, like, another tool in my toolbox, that when I'm describing to someone what my sexuality is, I can use this word of like consistency. Like, it's great. It's so valuable.
Such a valuable thing. It's just been such a great conversation. And everybody listening, please stop what you're doing right now. Subscribe to My Dad Stole My Limelight podcast on, I guess it's everywhere, Apple, Spotify. Follow on Instagram, and you can follow Lauren. Lauren, what's your Instagram?
My Instagram is Hi Lauren Deborah.
Such a great username.
Thank you. I had someone the other day be like, is this a pun for hilarious? And I was like, it is now.
I sometimes when I see it quickly, I think that too. But that makes sense. Hi, Lauren Deborah.
It is now.
That is. You gotta follow Lauren, keep up to date with what she's doing, and I thank you so much. Usually, if you were here in person, you would ring this bell. So you're gonna.
If you put it next to the thing, is it gonna line up?
It might. No, not really. But I'll ding it for you. So ring that bell. Lauren, thank you so much for coming on the Intoxicated Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarah. It's just such a pleasure. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Intoxicated Podcast. If you enjoyed this week's episode, make sure you subscribe on whatever podcast app you use and leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. You can also give us a follow on Facebook and Instagram at Intoxicated Podcast, and check out our video episodes on the Intoxicated YouTube channel. Until next week, feel hard and talk hard. Intoxicated Podcast is hosted and produced by Sarah McClellan, co-produced by Sarah Nicole, and brought to you by the messiness of life.